Assalamualaikum everyone. Welcome back to the Muslim Career Guide with your host Elia Gayoom. Today I am joined with Sister Nadirah. Jazakallah so much for joining me today.
How much for having me.
Yeah, of course. So do you mind giving a brief introduction of who you are, what you do, and all of that just fun stuff?
Sure. My name is Nadirah P. I'm 24 years old, born and raised in New Jersey. I'm a content creator, social media YouTuber, professional memer, etc., etc.
Yeah, I've seen your memes on Instagram and they're really funny. And so definitely really check it out. So yeah, before we do get into the interview, I like to do I guess we can say icebreaker questions. So just really quick, rapid fire questions. You can give your most present answer.
Okay.
Yeah. So what is your favorite book?
Ooh. I feel like am I giving there? I feel like the Quran is a given, so I won't say that. But my favorite book is If Bill by James
Nice, nice.
Baldwin.
Do you like texting or calling?
I like calling.
Calling, yeah. And then what is something that you don't understand?
Understand?
Yeah.
It's so funny because I was actually thinking about this yesterday, and it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it still baffles me. But the whole concept of chewing, like chewing your food, like I get it. Like we need to do it. I get it, but it's like, so off. But yeah.
Exactly. What was your favorite recent purchase?
What have I bought recently? More books.
Books. Yeah,
Books, yeah,
a good one.
that I don't need.
Yeah. And then lastly, what is your favorite emoji? Yeah, definitely. So
Yeah.
yeah. So we'll jump right straight into the interview question. So my first question for you is, what is a stand-up comedian and how does it differ from other types of comedians?
A stand-up comedian is literally a comedian that stands up, and or a comedian that rather performs live.
Yeah.
It's the difference between a stand-up comedian and all the other types of comedians, especially with the new age social media comedians. They're still considered comedians, but you have comedy writers. And the only difference is we perform live.
Oh, I actually never knew that comedy writers even existed. So that's kind of cool that there's just those differences too. But when did you decide you want to become a stand-up comedian? Like, was there a moment where you're like, well, like I need to become a comedian now?
Um, well, I always tell people like Allah decided for me.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, I don't wanna. And then Allah was like, yeah, you're gonna. It's been about, has it been about 3.5 years at this point?
Yeah.
I started off on social media.
Mhm.
That was going well, but that was still a hobby. It was like nothing I was taking. And then after like a year on social media, someone invited me out. Yeah, everyone had said it. Everybody was like, "Oh, you should do stand up. You should do stand up." And I was like, "No, I have anxiety."
Yeah. Yeah.
And then someone invited me out. So I was like, "Okay, let's see. Let's test the waters."
Mhm.
And I went and I did it, and it went really well. And I was like, "Am I actually good at this?"
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Okay, well, sometimes you just have a good day." I
Mhm.
was like, "Let me do it again." I did it again, and it went well. And I was like, "I guess this is what we're doing now." It was at that point where I was like, okay, we're doing this. I guess we're doing this.
Wow. It just I guess kind of almost happened out of nowhere.
Exactly.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy. And some people might see a career in comedy a bit risky and unpredictable. Like, how did people respond? And especially maybe even close family members and friends respond to you becoming a comedian?
Um, Everyone was just kind of like, what?
Yeah.
Okay. because I had always been funny, but there's a big difference between being like socially funny, like being funny within your social circles, and then being performance funny, live performance funny. But everyone was like, all right, well, I guess that's what we're doing. And my parents were like, no. And I was like, yeah. So it definitely took some time for them to warm up to it, but you know, it
Yeah.
happened. So here we are.
Yeah, exactly. And how did you like respond like to the people? Like I mean you may have like received any negative I guess response from that. So like I guess how do you respond to those people and how do you try not to care about what those people say?
Um, I don't take it personally because unless it's like somebody I know. But other than that, I realize that I'm on a public platform
Mhm.
privy to the public. So with that, people are gonna have their own feelings, and people have a right to that. Their own feelings doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be disrespectful, but a lot of times what they're feeling and how they're responding doesn't necessarily have much to do with me personally. It has to do with any any beliefs that they hold to be true.
Right, exactly. And it's like something that you need to understand that like they've gone through another walk of life, so they might their perception might have like just completely changed. So it definitely
Exactly.
makes sense. It's like they won't understand maybe what you're going through and your perceptions and stuff. So it definitely makes sense with that. But have you ever done like I mean I know you said you're a stand-up comedian, but like with live performances, like how long have you been doing for and what is like them for and what was is your like long-term goal looking like with being a stand-up comedian?
You said how long?
Yes, how long have you, like, been doing your live performances and stuff?
Um, I'm trying to 2019. I think this is my third year doing my stand-up comedy. My
Yeah,
third year. Long-term goals is to really just get funnier and funnier. Long-term goals.
yeah,
And I was talking to someone about this the other day. I know people, mean well when they say things like, oh yeah, we can't wait for you to get out there. We can't wait for you to find out about you. But then I have to reiterate to people that, I'm sorry, hold on one second.
yeah, sure.
You can start. So yeah, like I was saying, I know people have good intentions with that, and I know they
Yeah,
mean well, but I don't have a long-term goal of performing for the white gaze or uh, appeasing to like being appeasing to like non-Muslims.
right,
It's not a goal that I have because when I decided to start comedy, it was for the purpose of delivering comedic content to Black Muslims, to other Muslims, to Muslim women, and so on and so forth. So my own was to continue to be funnier and to perform for my people.
yeah, exactly, I mean, like, that makes sense with, just a comedian, I think all comedians have that long-term goal of just becoming funnier and funnier and, like, just having even, I guess, like, more of a reach also, so that's honestly, like, an amazing long-term goal to have, and just, like, recently, Muslim comedians have emerged, and even then, like, there's not that many, and even then, there's not many of them are women and Black, actually, I'm not even sure if I've seen any Muslim Black women actually who were comedians, so how does it feel like to be a part of such a small minority?
Um, I wish there was more. I definitely do wish there were more of us. Um, Two other Black Muslim comedians, but these are the only ones that I know, Zainab Johnson and Trevina Springer. They're both out of California, but other than them, I don't know any Black Muslim women comedians. And I do wish there more. Like there's nothing that really makes me feel good about, oh, I'm the minority. Like, no, I wish there was like a whole bunch of us so
Yeah.
I could have somebody to talk to and bounce ideas off of. So I definitely wish there were more.
Yeah, do you think there's something, like, holding especially the Muslim community and also even just people back from becoming comedians?
Hmm. I think it has a lot to do with a lot. I think for women specifically, if you were brought up under that understanding that like Muslim women should not be seen and should not be heard, then that could definitely deter you from choosing a career in performing, from becoming a performer. Um, but other than that, I don't know. I think in being a comedian, sometimes it could like bring out the parts of you that you didn't know that you were insecure about.
Yeah.
So it's like you're overthinking everything, you're double and triple thinking everything. In addition to, it's a very like nerve-wracking business.
Right.
Um, Even for me, a person that's been doing it for a few years now, like every performance makes my stomach hurt, gives me the jitters, like everything. So it's definitely not an easy profession to choose.
Yeah, definitely. Like there's I can't even imagine like just some of like the anxieties that can come up before performing. But do you ever feel like afraid or scared that like someone might find what you say, they might perceive it in a different way and just kind of be put off by that perception of what you said? Like how do you deal with those types of fears?
I mean, as a comedian, no matter what, somebody's gonna feel some type of way about something.
Right.
But I'm not above being critiqued, and I'm not above apologizing to people when I know that I've said something wrong. But a lot of times it's just a miscommunication.
Right.
So people will message me and be like, "You said that, you said this, you said that," and I'm like, "Okay, that's not what I meant." Even though sometimes I'm like, "Girl, I don't care," but sometimes I have to explain myself just to clarify things
Yeah.
because you don't want people thinking that you meant something that you didn't.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
just to clean things up, just to be like, "Hey, that's not what I meant." Um, but yeah, somebody's gonna be hurt by something.
Right, and is there something that you try to do to make sure that someone might not be put off, like, by what you said and, like, take it as a miscommunication, like, issue?
Um, I definitely have to check in with myself a lot of times
Mhm.
because my platform is really just all me talking.
Right.
Um, I have to be sure to check my intentions with myself.
Mhm.
Like when I want to make a video, it's like, am I making this to hurt somebody? Am I making this with the intention of getting under someone's skin? Am I seeking to be an agitator rather than a problem solver? And also, is this joke um, meant to be like lewd or like explicit?
Right.
Because a lot of times there's so many jokes that I can make, but they're so explicit. And then sometimes I'll be like, you know what, I'm just gonna make it. And I'll be like, oh, let me delete that.
Yeah.
And also keeping a community of people around me that watch my content, my family and friends, and that'll come to me and be like, yeah, that was too much. Or
Right.
let's not say that ever again. Or something like that.
Yeah, exactly, and, like, speaking of social media, just, like, mashallah, you guys have not you guys, you have, like, 80,000 followers on your at least your Instagram, and not that's not even including, like, YouTube and anything like that, like, how did you start to grow your social media and get that sort of attention?
It just happened.
Yeah.
It just happened. People always ask me like, oh my God, what's your social media strategy? I don't have one. Um, it really just comes from, I read a tweet that was like, my social media strategy is me being me. And alhamdulillah, like that's what it's been. The way that this started, it was never anything like intentional. It's never anything that I ever thought would happen. Like some days I still wake up and I'm like, that's interesting. Um, but yeah, alhamdulillah, like since I started, it's just been up from there.
Yeah, I mean, like, much like even just going through Instagram, I feel like it's authenticity, and I think people also are drawn towards that. Like, you just like say just whatever I feel like a lot of people have in mind and just make it funny. So it's like what people are drawn to that. So it really
Right.
truly is just so cool, and I think I can understand where how that happened.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And what is a skill that you were surprised that you needed to pick up when you started to become a comedian?
A skill I was surprised I didn't pick up.
That you had to pick up.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Yeah, like, what is a skill that you felt like you needed to pick up when you first started, comedy?
When I first started stand up, memorization,
Mm,
and
yeah.
also practice.
Yeah.
Like having the skill set to delegate time, to put time aside to actually practice. Because though for some of us it does come easy, when you get on a stage and there are like hundreds of people there and it's lights in your face and the mic is loud and
Yeah.
there's commotion going on, you think like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna get up there and be funny. So you get up there and it's like, oh my God, what was I about to say? I don't remember
Yeah.
any notes. So definitely the skill of memorization and discipline, I would say.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, like it's something that you wouldn't think of at the top of your head, but then as you say, like it makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, if this is the last question, if you could give any piece of advice to a Muslim who wants to pursue a career in comedy, what would that be?
Um, don't think you have to jeopardize your morals and values to be successful.
Yeah.
And I unfortunately do see that in comedians that are Muslim, um, where they'll start off, with clean comedy and all of that,
Right.
but then as they get like more and more successful, it becomes like more lewd and more crude and very explicit. And as it does that, it's funny because it also progressively becomes cornier and cornier, versus their original acts. But whatever's meant for you is going to come to you. And as long as you stick to what you know, do it. Do it. Try everything. Go to comedy places, perform, see what works, see what doesn't, and just keep going.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's just a great piece of advice. Like and with honestly any career, you don't need to sacrifice your dream to pursue a career successfully. And we've seen so many people who have been successful that didn't have to sacrifice their dream. And so it really is just such an amazing piece of advice. So just thank you so much, Sister Nadirah, for joining me today. Where can everyone find you?
Um, at Nadirah P on everything.
Perfect.
Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of that.
Perfect. We'll leave the links in the description box along with syndicates. Again, just thank you so much for joining me today, and inshallah, we will see you next Thursday.
Thank you. Alhamdulillah.